right. Hello. Welcome to Spilling the LoyalTEA, a Digitas podcast. I'm Melissa Berger, Chief Solutions Officer at Digitas. And this show is about loyalty and loyalty more broadly, how it's earned, how it's measured, and how marketers really keep it as a strategic asset. I'm really excited to have my friend Brett join me today. So I'd love for you to do a quick introduction and talk about who you are and a little bit about your role.
Yeah, sure thing. Thanks for having me, Melissa.
Absolutely.
I'm excited to be here.
Me too.
My name is Brett Wien with Walmart Connect.
Amazing.
I am the head of general merchandise, fashion, and strategic growth verticals.
Amazing.
So what does that mean?
Yes. What does that mean?
Walk into a Walmart
Yes.
and you have a food section
Okay.
and you have a traditional consumer packaged goods section, and then you have everything else. My team's responsible for everything else.
Everything else.
Everything else.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a big job.
Yeah.
That's a big job. And I think a lot of people don't necessarily know the difference between like Walmart Connect.
Yeah.
Do you mind just sharing a little bit about that as well?
Sure. Walmart Connect is essentially the advertising arm of Walmart, and our strength lies in our scale. 150 million shoppers every single week coming into our stores or online, and the data that we're able to capture from the customers that are coming to Walmart, both online and in store, and being able to leverage that data to make our marketers, our suppliers, more sophisticated in what they do with Walmart.
I love that. Yeah. So when you're at a dinner party, I'm sure you're a hot topic of when people are like, "Oh, what do you do, Brett?" You're like, "Let me tell you."
Yeah.
Because when you're like, "I'm responsible for everything except for these two things," that's a big job, and I think a lot of responsibility that you have.
Yeah, and it's funny. Earlier in my career, in the early aughts, I would just say like my job was just to keep the internet free. But now what I actually tell people is like I help marketers perform better with our data. And
that is an easy way to describe it.
They make more meaningful connections with their customers and our customers in a way they can't do anywhere else.
Yeah. And with a brand, to your point, at the scale of a Walmart, you're serving so many customers and consumers on any given day. So really helping them make sure that you have the right product, the right merchandise, connecting all the dots is so important. Yeah. So a 2-sentence elevator pitch. So, okay, we talked a little bit about Walmart Connect. We talked a little bit about the special sauce. What would you say is one of the most unique things that you feel like you're doing from your perspective within your line of business?
Yeah, I think I've been doing this a long time. I hate to say over 26 years of my life, I've been in digital advertising.
Okay.
And with Walmart specifically, it's deterministic in nature. It's bulletproof. It's not kind of jazz hands, smoke and mirrors stuff that maybe you would get from some other places. We have shoppers. We understand their behavior. We understand life stages. We understand just consumer behavior as a whole. So for us, like generally speaking, high fidelity, deterministic data, and just a way to kind of connect the dots, both from upper funnel all the way down to the point of purchase.
I'm glad you brought that up because that's been a hot topic. Already this morning, there were 2 different panels, including one I was on incrementality and the importance of it. And so I think thinking about that full funnel is so important when, as marketers, you're trying to prove the budgets that we're spending. How are we actually changing behavior and actually driving someone to come one more time, purchase something different, or even just steal share from some of the other competitors? So I love that really thinking about that full funnel picture is important. Okay, so when we think about the big picture, so much pressure on marketers today. Again, kind of incrementality, proving every single dollar. I know it's not just about clicks and it's not even just about sales and revenue. How do we keep people interested kind of for the long haul and, to drive a more loyal shopper? So from your perspective, what's the biggest shift that you've seen as you think about building customer relationships?
Yeah, I think for Walmart Connect as a whole, it's no longer just about kind of, did somebody buy something in that particular moment? How do we connect kind of that upper funnel, the traditional upper funnel or mid funnel exposure or activity to a lower funnel metric? Like, did they actually buy? Were they exposed to something 2 weeks before that eventually led to them doing a search for something that eventually led them to buying something? It's really hard to do.
Really hard to do.
Unless you're a giant retailer like Walmart, where you have the ability to kind of stitch all those touch points together in a way that, again, is deterministic in nature. And it's somewhat bulletproof in terms of like what the person was exposed to. Were they a net new buyer of that product? Were they, to your point, are we moving from one brand to another? We have all that information that we're able to leverage.
Well, and that's interesting because when you think about kind of a known customer and how you're targeting them differently than maybe someone who is, kind of unknown, you don't know who they are yet, or you're conquesting. So really thinking about the difference in kind of like the more direct relationship building that you can do with someone who is either giving you their information, or maybe they're a Walmart Plus member and you're actually able to know more about their everyday moves, which I know is really critical.
Yeah, I think the part for folks that are on the coast don't realize, Walmart is tremendous. It's part of everybody's life,
really is.
around the country.
Yep.
And I say that not to brag or boast, but it just unlocks so much more value, not just for Walmart Connect and Walmart, but for our customers as well. Showing you something that's relevant to your life is a lot. It's extremely powerful.
Extremely powerful.
It's extremely powerful.
Yeah. Well, and I think, personalization, as we know, kind of a buzzword, but at the end of the day, to me, I would almost argue it's about relevance too, not just personalization. Is it something that I actually am interested in? Yes or no? And, just showing me a bunch of things I've already bought previously. Yes, sometimes I'm going to do that, but it's about more like predicting that behavior and kind of those shifts, which I think is really important. So how are you seeing any of those shifts playing out with customers today as you think about your Walmart shoppers, and how have their expectations changed in this world of AI?
Nothing's linear anymore.
Yeah.
Right. I wish it was, but it's not. And we're all consumed by this thing in our hand, even while we're watching a giant screen in front of us. Mm-hmm. So being able to kind of like provide the inspiration to people that we believe would be interested in a particular product or service, and being able to kind of correlate that back to exposure, however many times, when and where. And literally come down to the fact that like this, not the individual, but this cohort actually did in fact make a purchase.
Yeah.
It's just about just kind of like realizing like it's not linear anymore.
No.
It is, sometimes a brand message can actually work as a performance vehicle. Sometimes a performance vehicle can act as a brand vehicle.
I love that.
It's super complex.
It is.
But if you have it all housed in one unit, Walmart Connect, it becomes a lot easier to understand it and make sense of it all.
Think like the convergence and all the hype around retail media right now is also super interesting, and the impact that it has on how customers are shopping or thinking about products. So, it really started as more of that lower funnel, opportunity and kind of performance tool. It proved our ROAS, it stole budget from search, and it worked, and there was so much hype about it. But in categories like fashion, general merchandise, as you said, you can't just do that at checkout. So it's really interesting. So how are you seeing other brands, customers of yours, shift their retail media strategy from capturing demand to creating it? It's been a hot topic around demand capture and demand generation this week.
Yeah, it's a lot of demand generation.
Yeah.
Like the reality is, again, you can use the mattress example, I can use a television example,
Absolutely.
I can use a new toy as an example. Mm-hmm. Like sometimes the messaging, you just can't assume that people are going to just come to Walmart.com or other places and just do a search.
Right.
We all know this. We're all customers and consumers at heart. We need to be inspired. Mm-hmm. And I think leveraging our data in a way to kind of cut through the noise. Yeah. And again, not pinpoint individuals, but pinpoint cohorts of people that would be interested in a particular product, either because of a life stage moment that we know they're going through, or they've expressed some interest in another way, another signal for us. Being able to kind of reinforce that message from, again, using traditional sayings, upper funnel to mid funnel to that performance piece is really, really powerful. And leveraging our data to do it, again, makes it a very, very, very specific and targeted component of a marketing effort.
Yeah. I mean, you guys are the most, I think, powerful space when it comes to retail media.
Thank you.
Really, again, it's just fascinating, right? Like a few years ago, this was hardly a topic of conversation. And now between, the different retailers and even agency teams, the volume and increase is tremendous. Yeah. But then as you get into planning, you hear some clients trying to figure out what's the right balance between retail media and their budget versus some of the other kind of levels and roles. So it's just curious.
TV
yeah, exactly. So how are you thinking about that?
Yeah, we look at everything from connected television to open web to social as truthfully just an extension of Walmart proper.
Yep.
We have the data, we have the technology in place that we can actually say, okay, this person has a cat, this person has a dog. Let's make sure we're showing the right message to the right person at the right time. Yep. That statement is as old as time, but the reality is now. We can do it deterministically and down to the household level and basically say like, okay, we know that this individual or this household is in the market for a new television, or we know that there's a new cat food that's being, I don't know why I always use cat food as an example.
It's a good example. Yeah. Cats are hungry.
I'm not a big cat fan.
Me neither.
Okay, good. We have that.
Don't tell my ex-husband.
Okay. But just being able to kind of like pinpoint that message strategically and create a lot more efficiency in what you're buying. It just helps extend the message.
Yeah, 100%. Well, and again, when the volume of SKUs and kind of everything that Walmart offers, I think it does force you to be really thoughtful around what product or offering are you putting in front of a customer. Because at the end of the day, there's so many messages that are out there. So how are you focusing on that? It's really an important thing to consider. So as we start to think about some of these like more connected experiences, I'm curious, especially with a brand like Walmart, you can be in the app, on the website, and in the store in the same day. So as you think about kind of like brands have to keep up, Walmart's at the epicenter of this. So can you share an example about how kind of connecting these different environments can make customers feel truly recognized and valued?
Yeah. Well, we have programs that unlock basically all these components. Yeah. And I think, a good example would be around specific moments in time, holidays, back to school, tax season, where if we're making sure that the message is appropriate, both online, in store, in the app, it becomes a little bit more kind of a 360 feel for the customer, and it's not disjointed. And the marketers that are really doing it right with us right now are the ones that are valuing all three touch points and other touch points that we have access to. Yeah. Those three being the biggest. Okay. But being able to kind of say, okay, we know that this is going to be a holistic program. Yep. Being able to touch people in that inspiration moment, whether it's through CTV or open web or social for that matter, and then being able to find that same person or cohort of people, and being able to kind of like say, okay, are they on the app? And then, in store is a little different, but at least from a messaging standpoint, there can be consistency there. Yeah.
The peso conversation is such a hot one these days around, paid, earned, shared, and owned. And, but I think what you just described, it's very important because otherwise we've done analysis for clients before where there could be up to like 40 different messages in a market that a customer is exposed to, right? So there's not really any focus. And then you wonder why maybe the metrics aren't performing as they should. So it's really interesting to kind of think about the role of those different channels in the ecosystem. So I love that, really planning all together. But I think when you have those distinct roles, it actually helps you drive the results that you're actually looking for versus just the kind of like, okay, we're just going to spaghetti on the wall and see how it happens. Exactly. Because consumers now, they're too savvy for that. They'll blacklist us if we're not careful. So when you're working with brands on these different connected experiences, what's your number one kind of measure of success? And thinking about that longer term loyalty, there's been a lot of conversations this morning, again, on some of these panels around incrementality, what true incremental sales are. Are you just counting someone who would have already shopped already? So I'm curious as, for you, what is your number one metric you're looking at?
So truthfully, it's that. Like we literally just make sure that measurement is at the center of everything we do. Okay. And some people would say, well, you're grading your own homework. But the reality is, we have the ability to kind of measure the impact unlike anybody else. Yep. I think the stat is something like 80% of all retail transactions as a whole, not just Walmart, but as a whole, still happen in brick and mortar. There's a lot of signal that gets lost if you're just focused in the world of digital or e-com, and being able to kind of capture the holistic picture of a marketing campaign against a true retail environment, both online and in store, is something that we're extremely proud of.
So I think based on what I've been hearing, over the last few days, I think most brands are probably very jealous of the ability to do that because it's hard. It's hard to do. Yeah. It's hard to understand who all your customers are. It's hard to do true incrementality testing. It's hard to make sure you're proving the spend that you're asking for leadership. It's a really hot topic, and it's not like it hasn't been, but it seems like it's kind of reemerging again as just a really big business challenge for a lot of brands.
Yeah, it's definitely being scrutinized now.
Yeah, right? The pressures are just so high. I think that's another thing that we've been chatting about is the pressure for every dollar you spend to be able to show the return and the growth. I think it's a tough challenge for a lot of brands to do. Yeah. So I'm curious, the role that Walmart plays in culture is something that, as someone who's worked with Walmart, super impressed with the ability for Walmart, as big as you are, to be able to react and really integrate culture. So when you think about kind of all the evolving customers' interests and, how do you think that plays into the strategy, not only like for your role specifically, but at a broader level for the impact on culture that Walmart has?
Yeah, I think for us, it comes down to really kind of understanding our customers.
Yeah.
And I know it sounds trite to say, but we understand our customers. We know what's important to them. Mm-hmm. Our teams are really, really focused on understanding consumer trends, what's important, understanding life stage moments for certain folks, and really being able to kind of deliver against that. Like it's important. And then staying on top of trends, it's we have countless signals that come in that allow us to just be smarter in the ways that we merchandise the stores, as an example, or what partners at Walmart Connect we want to leverage, whether it's a TikTok today.
Yep.
It's being really, really clear about where the customer is, what they're interested in, and how we can deliver to that customer in an authentic way.
Yeah. I've again always been really impressed because, again, for the size of the organization, your ability to move at the speed, especially when like things are happening in culture that you need to jump on appropriately, of course. But, again, there's few brands that I think do that very well. And I think this is one where you want to make sure that you, to your point, you understand even the individual stores, who's coming into those stores, what does that traffic look like? What do they care about? So that you can be more relevant to drive more sales with them, which I think is really important. Yeah. All right. So as you think about, so many choices, this is the other, right? Choice is just the word du jour. There's so much choice now for consumers. So many new brands coming up every single day. So when you think about that, what are some of the ways that you feel brands are keeping these more convenience focused shoppers coming back?
I think honestly, it comes down to consistency.
Yeah.
Right. Like I think that you're working with a company that offers you a selection that is curated for you to some degree, and there's consistency and trust with that. And I think like probably the word that I would underscore is trust.
Trust. Yep.
People come to Walmart every single week for their groceries.
Yep.
And they realize, oh, wait a second, I need a new toy. I have to pick up a toy for so-and-so's birthday, or the TV's on the fritz, it's time for a new one. And being able to kind of like align with your customers who trust you because they go to your store every single week, and expand and open up the aperture a bit and allow them to kind of see what we have across from the food aisle, whether it's in the fashion aisle, fashion footprint or the consumer electronic footprint. It really just creates like a moment where it's like, okay, I trust Walmart. I believe in Walmart. And it's just that consistency factor of just coming back and knowing what you're going to get there.
Yeah. Well, the convenience focused shopper is so interesting too, because again, going back to our attention is waning and there's so many different options. Being a place where, a consumer, the expectations, it's consistent, what you're going to find, you're going to be able to get whatever you need and you're not going to have to go to 10 places. Yeah. I actually think that's like one of the most important propositions is just the fact that like you can service any type of customer. And when you need something quick and convenient, Walmart still always has that available. And with your obviously quick delivery time, that just gives the important convenience that a lot of consumers are looking for. Yeah. And I know between all the different target audiences and cohorts, but a busy mom is a hot one for everybody, right? And the more they can come to Walmart for the one-stop shop, the better.
That's right.
I can only imagine.
Right.
Yeah. All right. So as we think about kind of like the living room being a new loyalty touch point, which I love, TV has always been this like ultimate brand storytelling machine, and you just kind of hoped that something would resonate, right? Because when you think about broadcast now with streaming, brands are getting a lot of these real signals. How has it changed what's possible for like tracking the impact of that on the actual outcome? So I'm curious from your perspective, especially in your role, like what is that looking like?
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head. Like historically, it was a lot of maybe this worked, or maybe we're buying enough GRPs, so we know we're reaching. Disregard the waste. We know we're reaching the people we want, and maybe there's an impact that happens.
Yep.
With our version of specifically connected TV, we have the ability, again, let's go back to my cat and dog example, to really say, I'm not going to waste an impression or waste a GRP on somebody who is uninterested in my product or not in market for my product. Being able to kind of like go to a marketer and say, like, there's going to be very little to no waste in terms of your broadcast message. And more importantly, being able to kind of like, being able to actually measure the impact downstream is what's happening right now with connected television.
Yeah.
It's really, really important.
It is really important. And I think it's, something that, again, I think a lot of marketers and brands are kind of looking at as something that needs to be focused on versus prior. We all love a good broadcast TV spot, but that's just not the number one focus for as many brands anymore.
That's right.
And, speaking of, Vizio obviously has been a big win for you all, especially as clients are more into the full funnel. Can you talk a little bit about how the Vizio and Walmart Connect partnership is changing the way and how you're kind of thinking about that from an advertising perspective?
Yeah, well, I think unless you're in Walmart, you don't really understand how big of a deal Vizio is for us.
Right.
It is really, really powerful. And the top two brands being sold by Walmart, can you guess? Vizio, and our house brand called ONN.
Yes. Okay.
Now, as of Q4 of last year, all On televisions are going to now be powered by Vizio, the Vizio operating system.
Okay.
So if you could imagine, it's not that hard to imagine, and probably by the end of this year, we'll be at 25 to 30% household penetration with our operating system.
That's incredible.
So start with that foundational element.
It's amazing.
Now you layer in our targeting that
Yep.
we can do and the measurement we can do in those households.
Yep.
It's a game changer. We're
Absolutely.
really, really bullish and really excited about it.
Okay. I mean, that's an incredible stat. And I think something that is really interesting as you think about the future of CTV and kind of what Vizio can offer. That's incredible. And I think, just there's so much as we think about connecting that to behavior and thinking about, what's actually are we able to do with that partnership, which is incredible. All right. So we're getting close here. Appreciate your time on this. So when we think about kind of like what we're looking ahead for as commerce, media, tech, all these are continue to kind of converge. What's one shift on the horizon that you think will fundamentally change how brands connect with customers?
It's a great question.
It is a good question, isn't it?
I think it comes down to just leveraging data, and it could be commerce data or just real data. Let's call it that.
Real data, yes.
Real data as kind of like the data spine of everything you do.
Absolutely.
And we're hearing it from more and more marketers that we engage with. They said, well, why would I use something else, right? If you know this much about a particular cohort,
right,
and it's refreshed at an ongoing rate, and it's deterministic in nature.
Yep.
Why would I use anything else? So I think coming down to the point that there is this ability for Walmart Connect to become like the data spine of everything a marketer buys is, again, I hate to say it, really powerful.
Yeah.
It's a powerful move.
It is really powerful. And again, you're seeing so many, customers and consumers on a day-to-day basis across all your different channels. And now, I mean, we just talked about the Vizio partnership. You're in their living rooms. There's just so many tentacles that Walmart is involved in people's lives and a really important part of people's lives. So I agree. I think it's really interesting on like that data spine aspect and really understanding you can tell, like you said earlier, so much about those individual customers, what's in their baskets, and even watching their baskets change over time.
That's right.
Which I find really interesting, right? So there's like the life stage. So with all that data, you're able to share with your partners, like where you're seeing some triggers to say, oh, we're going to see them move into a different life stage, or they are clearly buying a new house. So we need to be targeting them differently, right?
That's absolutely. And those signals are really, really profound and powerful in the sense like we know when somebody's about to move because of what they're buying.
Right.
We know to some degree we have to be careful, but like when they're having a new child or if they're in the market for a new car, all of these signals come out very cleanly.
It's really interesting.
Walmart.
I was telling my partner Carly on the way here, my mother and my sister are currently buying new houses, and the amount of phone calls and emails and things they're getting, sometimes it's hard to kind of separate like what's real, what's not, really kind of understanding. But you're right. Like those signals are out in the ether, and now there's a lot of communication to them, just really focusing on, oh, you're getting into a new house. You need X, Y, and Z. Yeah. So I love that because I think that's something else you can offer brands that, not just because of search behavior. You're actually looking at their mix of the basket and when they're coming into the store. That's really fascinating. Yeah. So, all right. So as we think about kind of landing the plane, and we greatly appreciate you spending time with us at Possible, I'm going to ask you the question we like to end for everybody, which is, what brand can you not live without right now?
Okay. I'm going to give everybody a public service announcement.
Okay. I can't wait.
So my family went through a devastating fire at our house.
Oh my goodness.
Everybody's safe?
So sorry.
Everybody's safe?
Everybody's safe.
Everybody's
okay.
safe? All good. I had my passports, my birth certificates, all the important documents that you could possibly imagine for a family of 6 in a little safe about 10 feet away from where the fire started.
Oh my goodness.
So the brand that I can't live without is a brand called Sentry Safe.
Oh my
and
goodness.
Everybody that I talk to that's close to me, or even that that I meet and they hear about this, I talk to them about their insurance, and I talk to them about having a safe. So Century Safe is probably the most important brand to me.
Wow.
Right
And
now.
what a great, I mean, I'm so sorry that happened, but the fact that you had all your important documents. So this is, yes, a PSA to everybody. Make sure your important documents are somewhere all together, but that is also fireproof.
Yes.
That's, oh my goodness. Well, I'm so sorry that
sorry
happened.
To throw that
but
one on you.
No, but I mean, I'm glad everybody is safe, but what a stressful moment. And, thankful that all the really important paperwork and documents were saved. Wow.
Could have been a headache.
Woo! I mean, I'm sure it still was a headache, but you seem like you came through it on the other side, though.
It's okay.
Yeah,
we're good.
Well, thank you so much for spending time with me today. I greatly appreciate it. I hope you enjoy the rest of your time here in beautiful Miami, and hear some other really interesting things. And for all our listeners, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Please follow us and turn on your notifications so you don't miss the next.